Hello guys, how are you doing? Welcome back to Rule of Two Review, and boy, was it a crazy, exciting, super awesome day, because of course we're going to talk about all that sweet Nintendo Direct goodness. So today was September 13th, 2017, and of course, that means, as we all know, there was a huge Nintendo Direct today. 45 minutes. Something that I think it's kind of fulfilling our wildest dreams in terms of Nintendo Directs. Sometimes we want to see so much content come to us, and typically, even when we get even a fairly good Nintendo Direct, a lot of times they're pretty short, they're pretty thin on content, they're 15-20 minutes long. And this is like the real deal. Like, Nintendo was very, very upfront about, we're talking about Nintendo Switch games, we're talking about the 3DS, we're talking about Mario Odyssey. It's going to be 45 minutes, so get excited. And of course, that's what we did, was got very excited, and the Nintendo Direct happened, and that is what I'm going to discuss with you guys today, sort of my reactions to it. Now, it's a little bit tricky because I was working when it was happening, of course, and I was only able to watch a little bit of it, but luckily what I was able to do was listen to all of it. I was able to kind of have it running in the background and just kind of catch a few things and turn it on and catch a couple of glimpses of the screen when I had an opportunity or when it seemed like something really awesome was happening. So that was good, and I've been able to catch up on a couple of things in trailers since then, some of the stuff that Nintendo has released separately from the Nintendo Direct. So that's really great. And so I'm going to discuss kind of my feelings on the Nintendo Direct as a whole, and then a couple of the really, really big key things that I took away from it and the things that make me really excited. Okay, so first and foremost, how was the Direct? It was fantastic. I think that the presentation, the way they covered all of the crazy amounts of content, and most importantly, the pace at which they doled out that content was perfect. It showed that they have learned a lot over the course of the last year, and in the midst of launching a brand new console and changing their marketing and kind of the face of the brand and everything that they've done that I've talked about many times, I think that they're really finding a groove with how to take care of these kinds of things and the things that make us as gamers and Nintendo fans excited, and how to really just throw it out there and do it in the most efficient way possible. And I think that we saw the first steps of this at E3 when, if you remember, a lot of us, and myself included, I'll definitely admit that, we're pretty nervous and skeptical of only 25 minutes of a presentation and how much content, how many surprises, how many games can you pack in to such a short presentation, when we've got the other guys coming on stage for an hour, hour and a half sometimes, and Nintendo used to do that and of course hasn't in a while, and sure enough, they totally blew a lot of our expectations away. Maybe not everybody, I know some people were disappointed, but many people, including me, were very happy and satisfied with what they did at E3, and how just a quick clip, they just threw us another game, they threw us another game, they threw us another trailer. They managed to have a couple of huge surprises, as we know, and that was really successful. And then we got the 45-minute Direct today, and I think Nintendo just killed it, man. Not only in terms of content, which I'll get into, but I mean, they started off with that first 10-15 minutes or so of 3DS stuff, and they focused on Pokemon, and then they just went into, I don't remember what they called it, a showcase, I guess, where they just had like, I don't know, 7 or 10 minutes of just non-stop trailers, and it was well handled in the presentation in the terms of, in the sense that they had somebody sort of narrating everything going on. It wasn't just like clips and trailers. It was, typically we'd see Bill Trinan doing this, but it was just somebody just talking to you, giving you the quick details and the synopsis of the games that they were showing at the time, going from one game to another game to another game to another game, giving you release dates or prices or, you know, special downloadable things or pre-order bonuses, demos available, all these different things, and they just went for it. And then by the time they got to the Switch stuff, it was pretty much the same thing. They basically spent time on Xenoblade, then they went into this big showcase where they showed a bunch of great stuff, and then they finished with Mario Odyssey. They spent some time on something else that I'm forgetting now. I'll double check. But it was great. It was really great. I loved the format. I loved having huge chunks of time dedicated to just show a game for a minute and a half with someone talking and giving you all the details and showing the great gameplay, and then move on to another one. It was really great, and I think Nintendo realized, hey, we've got a bunch of stuff to show. We don't want to hold any of it back. We're just going to just throw it all at you and just be prepared to catch it all and digest a crazy amount of information, because that's what we have to give you. It was seriously fantastic, you guys. I mean, I was really impressed. Specifically in terms of presentation, it was the best example of how Nintendo can do things right, and when they don't mess these things up, and when they deliver on the goods and the promises. And it was really just just a good example of why I think Nintendo is special and unique, and why when they work, they really work. And when they want to be successful, they are really successful. They just have to put their minds to it. And, you know, so many times they let us down or kind of drop the ball, but they haven't been doing that lately, and they definitely didn't do that today. So that was really great. I have to admire the fact that they spent a good amount of time on the 3DS, you know, further proving the truth of what they've said recently, that the 3DS is a platform that for now is still relevant, is here to stay. They're going to support it into 2018. I was expecting, and I did predict, a brand new 3DS title. And although we did get that, and I'm taking credit for that in the sense of Minecraft, in the form of Minecraft, I should say, I was kind of expecting something a little bit, I guess I can't say bigger because Minecraft is like the biggest, but I don't know, something different, something like 3DS exclusive, maybe developed by Nintendo first party or third party exclusive, something huge. But regardless, pretty cool to see Minecraft showing up. They spent a lot of time on the new Pokemon things coming, which I don't know if it's, I think they're doing the Sun and Moon, like, updated version, and then something else is coming to the eShop that I think is some of the older games. I don't follow Pokemon, so I don't know, but I know that they opened up with Pokemon, and it seems like a big deal. Pokemon fans are really happy about that, so that's great. Of course, it's going to make them a ton of money, and that's what they want. And, you know, hey, the 3DS just keeps on trucking. Metroid's coming out in 2 days. I'm taking the day off of work. Well, I switched my days off, I should say. I'm not actually taking a day off work, but I will not be working on Friday to play the game. And, you know, look at Nintendo Go, man. Look at the 3DS Go. They're really smart in finding a way to really get the last legs out of this machine, and it's pretty interesting. But then, of course, we all know they moved on to the goods. They moved on to the good stuff that we wanted, which was the Nintendo Switch. Okay, guys, let's just get the big stuff out of the way. It's the big stuff in terms of, I think it's some of the biggest announcements from the Direct, and it's also the biggest stuff in terms of it's the stuff that I'm the most personally excited for. And it's obviously the 2 Bethesda games. Holy freaking cow, Doom and Wolfenstein 2 are coming to the Nintendo Switch. Holy smokes. This was massive. I mean, you know, let's bring it back for a minute. Again, they opened up with Xenoblade, and then they kind of went into this big long run of just a bunch of games. The same thing they did for the 3DS. It was a showcase of, like, you know, 7-10 minutes or whatever. And it was just game in a trailer, game in a trailer, game in a trailer. Not really a lot of new announcements. You know, the whole thing, to be fair, was not filled with a lot of new announcements. That's the one thing that I will agree is a negative. But these 2 announcements were huge, and these were new announcements of new games we didn't know to expect on the Switch. And so they're going through all of these different game trailers. A lot of them are indie games and stuff we've seen showcased before. Really cool looking stuff. That's totally great. I'm really excited for a lot of that. And then just nonchalantly, it's so amazing how they handled this. Nonchalantly, after spending some time talking about Skyrim, I think they talked about Skyrim first. We got the date for Skyrim, November 17th, which is really tough for me because, as I've talked about recently, that comes in like this pool of a couple of weeks of a lot of games, including coming out the same day as Star Wars Battlefront 2. But whereas I am going to pass on LA Noire in this time, I am not going to pass on Skyrim. I will be picking up Skyrim. I might not get to it for a while because I'll be playing Mario Odyssey, Call of Duty, and frickin' Star Wars Battlefront 2, and then Skyrim, like the biggest game ever. But regardless, anyway, November 17th, we're getting Skyrim. That's really great. And then, nonchalantly, oh, you know that really great, amazing game, Doom, that came out last year? Yeah, that's going to come out before the end of the year. Before 2017 is over, sometime in the next 4 months, that game is going to release on the Switch. Like, that is insane. Really impressive because of the visuals of that game and the amazingly impressive frame rate. That game is a locked 60 frames per second, and it's also mandatory to the gameplay experience. I can tell you because it's one of the best games I have played in the last 15 years of all of video games. It was that good. And to have that game coming to the Switch, to have that game portable, whoa, that is a game changer. That is a groundbreaking thing to announce for so many reasons. Because of the graphics, because of the frame rate in the gameplay, and because of the portable nature. Holy smokes. And then, oh yeah, that other game, Wolfenstein 2, that's not even out yet, is going to be coming to the Nintendo Switch sometime in 2018. That's probably the bigger news here. And probably the most important thing, I think personally, announced throughout this entire Nintendo Direct. is Wolfenstein 2 coming, because it is extremely high profile. It is from absolutely one of the hugest, biggest, and most relevant and important developers in the industry, Bethesda, and it is a new, current, relevant, unreleased game that will be launching not alongside its counterparts. PS4 and Xbox One version are coming out in like a month, sometime late October. So, you know, that's fine. And then sometime next year in 2018, probably Q2, I'm going to guess, we're going to get it for the Nintendo Switch. But that's a huge win, you guys. This is a very huge win. And I'm really excited to see what happens here. I will now wait. I was going to be picking up Evil Within 2 and Wolfenstein 2 on my PS4 or Xbox One this year, but I will now wait for Wolfenstein to pick it up on my Switch to support it. I already wanted to play it. I want to have that game portable. Can you believe we're finally getting huge, amazing third-party AAA games in portable fashion? The Switch, the actual purpose of this Switch, of this console, and the game-changing nature of it is now going to start to be utilized in really important games like Doom and Wolfenstein 2. Huge news. And the other huge thing of this, and I made a tweet about this as well, and I think we need to pay attention to this, you guys. These two games also show the amount of support and faith Bethesda obviously has in this console. Think of all the years of trepidation that Bethesda had with Nintendo, and they basically were like, we ain't touching Nintendo with a 10-foot pole for so long. Then the Switch comes out. Early on, we see them dipping their toes in with a 6-year-old game with Skyrim, and we're thinking, well, we have to, you know, we're going to see if we can get future Bethesda support. It's probably going to be a couple of years. I guess we have to buy Skyrim. And then Doom and Wolfenstein are announced today before Skyrim has even launched. They haven't even waited to see if Skyrim is going to be successful on a Nintendo console. Bethesda is all in, you guys. I mean, and it, you know, we're seeing this stuff with Rockstar and a couple of other companies, and it's really great. LA Noire is a nice touch for sure, and all these other things. But Bethesda's like, yeah, no, we're putting it all on Nintendo, basically. I mean, it's really a huge deal, you guys, if you think about it. And it shows that they've seen the sales, they understand the console. Nintendo has obviously done an amazing job. Props to Nintendo for this. Done an amazing job to convince the folks over at Bethesda to believe in the Switch this much. And I'm willing to bet, I don't know if we'll get this confirmed or not. This is just my running theory right now. When you look at how impressive and how huge, what are the words I'm looking for? The tech and the graphic and the scopes and the scope, everything involved with Doom and Wolfenstein, to get those games running on the Nintendo Switch is obviously a huge achievement. And so my theory would be that very possibly Nintendo, in order to court Bethesda and get them to support so heavily the Nintendo Switch before the sales have been proven for their games, I'm willing to bet that some Nintendo developers are probably working very closely with Bethesda's teams to make these games work optimally on the hardware. Because as we know, Nintendo works magic on their own hardware. Some company might not be able to get something to work very well. Nintendo will make a game that works 1,000 times better and looks 1,000 times better than the other guys' games on their own machines because they know the hardware and they know how to make it work. I'm willing to bet, similar to how Nintendo and Platinum worked together on Bayonetta 2, that's probably what happened with Bethesda and these two games. And whether that's true or not, I don't even care. It's just really great to see. This is huge news. So other than that, everything else is pretty much just standard bullet point stuff. Rocket League was detailed a little bit more, which I also predict we would get some Rocket League info. I was hoping for a date, and I don't think that they gave us a date, and that's too bad. But Rocket League is going to be great. The big other thing, I should say, Xenoblade Chronicles, so freaking good. And December 1st, confirmed as the release date. So, man, that is super great to know. It's stuck to 2017. I was wrong this whole time thinking the game was going to be delayed. And as of right now, it's coming out December 1st. We'll have that game in just a couple of months, man, which is really, really exciting. I mean, they showed Kirby a little bit. They gave us a date for Kirby. I can't remember even what the date is, actually. Sorry, guys. Resident Evil, the Resident Evil Revelations 1 and 2 is coming out November 28th, so they gave us a date for those games, which is very exciting. This is pretty cool. They showed this arcade classics sort of thing that they're doing, where they're kind of updating the gameplay for some old Nintendo arcade machines, stuff like the original Mario Brothers they detailed. We're probably going to see stuff like Donkey Kong and Donkey Kong Jr. and those kinds of things down the road, Pac-Man probably. They're giving it like multiplayer support and special Joy-Con support and all these things, stuff that's going to be downloadable. I think it's cool, not so much because of the games, but what I think this might be, hopefully, fingers crossed, is a precursor to the Virtual Console. I might totally be shooting myself in the foot even bringing that up, because for all I know, that is way, way wrong. But it just feels like that's where we're at right now with this. So as Nintendo's full online service rolls out next year, we'll probably get more details on all of that stuff. But I feel like that's what that means. They spent some time on that Project Octopath game, which I believe is that Square RPG that's exclusive to the Switch. And yeah, that actually looks really pretty good. So yes, Project Octopath Traveler. That is the correct name and game that I was thinking of. And, you know, I've heard that name thrown around for so long, and somehow whenever it was first detailed, maybe even in the January event, I can't remember, I'd sort of forgotten what kind of game that was. And every time I would hear people bring it up casually, I was picturing something just completely different, something like a more indie sort of goofy sort of game. And seeing what this game really is, you know, learning it's an exclusive from Square, and it looks like a very, very deep RPG. I think the Bravely Default team is what they said, and Bravely Default was a really good game from what I played. So that's a really nice surprise. That's actually a game I've suddenly decided I'm very into, and there's even a demo available. So, you know, that was really great. And overall, I mean, there's a bunch of other smaller things I could touch on, but overall, it was a great direct. For me, the Bethesda stuff, Doom and Wolfenstein is huge. I'm not going to lie. That's like, I'm pretty laser focused on that from today's direct. Even though everything was great, like I discussed, that's the big takeaway for me. And it's a shame that it's not really just Nintendo stuff. I mean, they detailed more Mario Odyssey stuff at the end. They showed 2 new worlds. It looks fantastic. We know it's fantastic. We know it's going to be Game of the Year or Game of the Year runner-up behind Breath of the Wild. So, and there's no real surprises over how good that game looks, so I don't really have to talk too much more about it. I will say, I felt really good that we were going to hear from Platinum Games and get something from them, whether it was a multi-plat or probably an exclusive, maybe Bayonetta 3, because there's been some sort of teases on Twitter, if you guys have seen that, about Bayonetta 3. That didn't happen. We didn't hear from Platinum. We didn't hear from Retro. We didn't get any other surprise, unannounced games for the Switch that we've never heard of. You know, like multi-platform, first-person, whatever, or first-party, sorry, whatever. I mean, Doom and Wolfenstein were new announcements, but those games aren't new. Like, we've known about those games. We've even played one of them. So there was no absolutely unheard of, never before seen or played Nintendo Switch game. And that is a bummer. I was expecting that and hoping for that. But you know what? That's okay. They gave us so much stuff. They even gave us stuff for the 3DS. I mean, other than those few complaints, it was a great show. So I'm excited. I'm happy. It helped 45 minutes of my workday go by really quickly as I was trying to plug away on my computer, and I was really just listening to what was going on, and then the Doom and the Wolfenstein stuff happened, and oh my god, and Xenoblade Chronicles December 21st, oh my god, it's just so crazy. So, what a great day for Nintendo and for Directs. So, what do you guys think? Are you as excited as I am? Are you as focused on the Doom and Wolfenstein stuff as I am? Totally okay if you're not. There was so much other Nintendo goodness, and the Pokemon and Metroids in a couple of days, and Octopath and Kirby and all this stuff. Whatever you thought was great, talk about what you thought was great below. Whatever your complaints are, feel free to discuss that. You know, not everything is always sunshine and roses, as I like to say, and if there are legitimate complaints, definitely talk about them. But I think that's it, guys. What a fun day. Thanks, of course, as always, for tuning in. This is Rob of Rule of 2 Review, and I will catch you next time on another video.